Welcome everybody. I'm Callie B. Elwayns with Bold and Visible, and I'm here today with the beautiful Kirsten Garcia. Kirsten is a resilience coach and mentor for people that suffer with anxiety and depression, and she works with young people as well as adults. She is also a professional actor here in Calgary and has had many years of corporate experience working in various corporate and leadership roles. And also, Kirsten is a graduate of the Bold and Visible Breakthrough Program, and she was just an amazing storyteller at the Bold and Visible Monologues, which happened on August 17th. Yeah, your story's amazing.
Thank you.
And speaking of your story, today we were going to talk about stepping up and playing our biggest game in the world, and really what that means in terms of really coming into our calling. So maybe you can just share with everybody a bit about your story, you know, what you're up to and what your transformation was to bring you to your calling.
Right, yeah. Quite a few years ago, I was working in the corporate world and going through a lot of stress and anxiety in that environment, and I just got to the point where I was just so overwhelmed with it that I basically just stopped functioning. and depression and anxiety is something that I had struggled with all through at least part of my adolescence, and then well into my early adulthood. And then here I was in this corporate environment and finally crashing and burning because I had, been through my ups and downs over the years. As you do when you go through depression, you have good periods and bad ones, but I hit the rock bottom for me at that point, and I needed to find a way to get out of that once and for all. I was not prepared to climb my way out of that one and then only to end up in another one and to suffer that roller coaster the rest of my life. And so I really needed to find a way to get out of it once and for all. And so through my own recovery process, that became my mission, was to overcome it altogether and with a view to never going back into it. And so that was the quest I was on.
Well, that's so fantastic, so important. I just know that I've had the personal experience of both, dealing with anxiety and depression in my own life, but also in the lives of people around me.
Right.
A lot of my cohorts, my colleagues, my family. It's everywhere. And we have this sense, often people with depression go into isolation. Is that something you experienced?
Oh, absolutely. And in fact, often depression and anxiety begins out of a feeling of isolation to begin with. So either people feel ostracized in certain ways in their lives, either at a young age or later in life. So that isolation begins and then perpetuates. And as we go through depression or anxiety, it gets perpetuated even more, because then we want to withdraw, and we withdraw out of a feeling of shame surrounding why we're going through this in the first place. And so absolutely, isolation is a huge component of depression and anxiety. It starts there, it manifests there, and it thrives in an environment of isolation. And so really working to get people reconnected is so important.
Yes, absolutely. Making sure that there's a circle of support and witness and right. So how did you make the leap to this new journey going forward in your life?
Right. Well, this is something that I have felt called to for a long time, ever since I went through my own journey and came out the other side of it, so to speak, and realized that I had done that work that I set out to do, and that I wasn't ever going back to that dark place again. I have had a calling to really help people do that for themselves as well, and it's just something that, you know, we have that little voice in our head that calls us to something that we want to do or are meant to do in the world, and quite often we don't listen to it. It's just kind of in the background as we go about our busy lives and our corporate lives and our, you know, our housework and chores and the kids and, you know, running around doing everything else that we have to do, and we don't silence ourselves, quiet our minds and our bodies long enough to really hear the voice and know that that voice is legitimately speaking to us for a reason. And so once I was able to recognize that that voice has been calling for years and years and years, why aren't I tapping into it and really listening to it and taking it seriously? Once I was able to do that, I was like, aha, this is what feels true to me, and I need to be out there sharing it with the world. So here I am.
Yes, it's amazing. And you know, this is the thing, is so many of us are inside of this potential.
Mm-hmm.
Like these true feelings, this sensing into something bigger that's inside of us.
Right.
But often you know, we don't know exactly what it is sometimes.
Yes.
Right? And other times we have some pretty serious inner blocks and barriers that are holding us back. And that's part of what we work on in the Bold and Visible program, is really letting go of some of the stories and patterns and ways we're showing up in the world that literally have us not see our potential, right?
Right, exactly. Yeah, I mean, we hear the voice in our head telling us that we should be doing something, but we don't necessarily give it the weight that it really needs, and we don't listen because we don't recognize it as, hey, that's our own voice. It's our own higher power knowing of where we should be in the world and what we have to contribute. So
do you find that any of that, so I always sense that we're in our rational mind so much, and in our strategic mind, because we're corporate women, many of us, and even if we're not, you know, we're in a world that really values the rational mind, and it's really disconnected from the body. And
yes.
So we try to strategize our way to our calling, or,
right, you
know, and often we just don't listen, or we're not even aware of what we desire. Is that true for you as well?
Absolutely. One of the things that I learned through my own journey was how to distinguish the difference between what my intellectual mind was telling me and what my heart was telling me, because often there's a disconnect, and your brain is always trying to talk you out of what your heart knows as truth. And so being able to listen, hear one from the other, and distinguish between the two is so important, but very challenging to do amongst all the noise in our daily lives.
And that's where, you know, one of the things we do in our program, and that I do in my personal life, and I have to do it a lot because I can go into my strategy right away. I mean, I've been corporate CEO, and you know what I mean? Like I can literally disconnect from my truth, and I can get into a sympathetic nervous system almost drive to produce, versus getting back to my center. So a lot of the work that I do is around awakening the body and the somatic work that can allow me to tap into the truth of who I am. And you know, sometimes it seems counterintuitive or irrational, but actually it's pointing me in the right direction.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
You know, in I'm just curious about, you know, any of the, are you willing to share any of the habit patterns or the patterns of thinking or ways of being that were holding you back from stepping into your true calling?
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, there's probably been a few, but one that really came to light recently through the work that I was doing with you is just I had always grown up in an environment where no was the default answer for anything that I wanted or desired, and if there was an opportunity to do convincing, as children often do, it took a lot of work to overturn that no into a yes if it happened, which was very rare. So just being always so used to hearing that no and that being the default, and also not being willing to take risks either, because well, it probably wasn't going to work out for you anyways, right? And or you're not that person. That those things are for other people, they're not for you. And so just having those patterns and stories for so long, and then starting to learn how to expect a yes through the work that we did together, and starting to ask for yes, and how that started to open up all sorts of things for me, because then I started to ask for yes, and on one particular occasion I asked for one yes and I got three, and then I had a different problem. I didn't know who to say yes back to, because
It's yes everywhere.
Right. So, but it was interesting how I'd been so afraid to ask for the yes because I'd been so trained to expect no in my life, and then all of a sudden everything's opening up for me, and now which direction do I go, because I've got so many options. And so that was a really new experience for me that that was a little bit startling, actually.
It's exciting though, right?
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
It's like we can see how we are sourcing our experience in our life. It's not a blame thing.
No.
Or a judgment, because, you know, we have to have a lot of compassion for ourselves, because we're adapting and doing what we need to do to survive, and what we needed to, and, you know, when we were young. But the truth is, wow, like, I can source a yes just as easily as I can source a no.
Right, right. And also for me, part of that learning was also realizing that no is just a part of the journey.
Yeah.
No's and yeses are just a package deal. When you ask, sometimes you're going to get no's and sometimes you're going to get yeses, but either is okay. And what I had been afraid to do before is even step out and ask for the yes, because I was so afraid of the no. So that's been really exceptional.
And often those no's, or those times where we feel either we're failing or we're getting a rejection, they trigger a sense of personal shame,
right,
and lack,
right.
And where we're coming to is we're willing, like in the improv, when we do improv, you know, you get up and you do the thing and you fail at it, but you get to a point where it doesn't trigger you anymore. It's not a personal shame-based meaning we're making out of it. Right. It's actually just the nervous system says, oh, okay, it's a no, that's fine, I'll go on to the next thing.
Right. And actually it's interesting that you say that, because as an actor, we are part of our training is understanding that when you audition for things, no is just a part of being an actor. You're going to do so many auditions, you're going to get so many no's, you're going to get so many yeses, and the rejection is just a part of that. And so in my acting life, I was okay with it, but I hadn't accepted that in the rest of my life, as I was still afraid to ask for yeses in all the other areas of my life, because I was so afraid of that no. So it's funny how there was a disconnect there too, right? Like I was okay with it in one aspect of my life, but not in the others.
Right. Very interesting. Well, and our system is just, we have a certain way of being, and we're entrained in that way of being, and we just have to practice ourselves out of it. It takes a lot of practice, right?
Yeah.
And personal awareness.
Absolutely.
So I'm so curious about the piece around your story for you. We're working on visibility. We're working on using our voice and being seen, being willing to be seen. And there's a whole piece around being safe to be seen. And so for you, and in the work you do in the world, helping people with anxiety and depression, so what have you found is so important about your own story and visibility and voice?
Well, we all have something to offer the world, and if we are choosing not to be visible, then we are holding that back from the world, and we're not honoring who we are, and we're not honoring others really, because people need our stories, people need what we have to offer, people need us to share that. And if we're staying small and not being open to be vulnerable and generous with what we authentically are in the world, then we're robbing not only ourselves but everyone else who could benefit from that.
And you have a particular lens into this because you're an actor, and we can talk similar language here. I'm not an actor. Well, I'm trained in acting to a certain degree. I'm not practicing as an actor. So can you explain what you feel is the difference? And this is the work that I bring in as well through Bold and Visible, around being authentically seen and visible in your story. We do the work, the Patsy Rodenberg work around being in first circle.
Right.
The second circle and third circle, the sense of being, stepping into authentic presence versus that inward collapsed sense of who we are, versus when we're pushing ourselves, we're telling our story, we're going to get out there and get seen and get heard.
Right.
It's experienced differently, right? I mean, you have that when we got to the monologues, for example, we did a lot of work dropping into presence.
Right. Yeah, because what we share needs to be shared from an authentic place. And the only way for us to be able to share it from that place is to authentically know it from within and feel it and understand it first. And then we can share it from an authentic place, but we really have to have an intimate connection to it ourselves before we can share it.
Yeah, I love that you say that, because there were so many times, for example, in my career when I'm in the boardroom and I have a message I want to bring, but I'm not very elegant at bringing it, and it's because something's not quite right. Like my truth is not there. I'm trying to be something, or
right.
That's why, getting deeply in touch with who we are first.
Yes.
Before we source all of what we want to say or who we're being in the world, getting deeply in touch with that, letting go of the limiting, those lenses that we force ourselves through. I lived a lot of my life, I don't know about you, but trying, doing great things, like really putting great things out there in the world, but really through a lens of trying to prove.
Right. Yes, absolutely. Because the other thing that I've realized through this work in my own life is how long I've been believing other people's stories about me.
Right.
So, people tell us things when we're young and we believe it for the next 3 decades, and it's not even true to begin with. it wasn't true then, and we've spent all this time buying into it and not figuring out who we are authentically and whether those things are true, or maybe they were true then, but are they still true today, because we are constantly evolving. So that's something that's also come to light through this work, is that, you know, we don't have to hold on to those old stories.
Yeah.
We can let those go and evolve into something else that a different story that we'd rather exist in.
Absolutely. And how does this then relate? Like what really comes to me when you say that, actually, Kirsten, is that we need to do the work ourselves in order for us to step into the world and offer our own work to the world. So, I mean, we talked about this earlier, that, you know, you and I, and we need to keep doing the work daily so that we can be authentically offering what we have to offer. We can't coast.
Right.
Right? We can't be the experts. It's just not how it works.
Right.
I mean, because you're stepping into this space, you're working with people who are very vulnerable. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so I love your willingness, by the way, to go so deep and be so committed to yourself first, to be able to be available.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's not an easy thing to do. It's not an easy path to go on. But it really is transformational work, and you really do come to a different version of yourself that is more true and more authentic, and allows more possibilities and allows more sharing of yourself with others.
It's so beautiful. So what would you say to people today that are suffering from anxiety and depression?
I would say that if you have an old story that you believe that this is your lot in life and this is just something you'll always have to struggle with in your life, I don't believe that to be true. I truly believe that people can overcome it. I am living proof of that fact. And I just want people to know that there is a way permanently out of that darkness, and they don't have to live in that space if they choose differently for themselves. There are ways to come out of that and really blossom into who they truly are.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And so Kirsten has an amazing, amazing story. She shared it at the Bold and Visible Monologues.
I did.
We had many fun rehearsals with our group, which was really actually a transformative space, I think, in itself.
It was, yeah.
But your story is so powerful, and you do share your story, so people can reach you if they want for speaking engagements and so forth, right?
Yes.
So you speak to youth and adults.
Yes.
So in schools and different community venues and so forth, right? Mm-hmm. Great. And you're also available for resiliency mentorship.
Yes.
And Kirsten does some beautiful work in that area. Really important. So how can people get in touch with you, Kirsten, if they want to have you come and speak and share your story? By the way, you can find it soon at boldandvisible.com, where we'll be posting Kirsten's story. And but yeah, where can they find you, locate you?
So they can reach me on Facebook Messenger, or they can also find me on LinkedIn.
On LinkedIn, perfect. Yeah, great. Well, thank you for taking the courage to step forward and do this work in the world, and for making the leap and the decision to not hold back in some, everyday routine, and to take the risk to believe in yourself.
Thank
it's like
you.
we need to bet on ourselves once in a while.
We do, and it's so difficult for a lot of us to learn that we can step into that, and that what we have to offer is needed by the world, and that we have to be bold enough to step out and share it and give that to the world and
Yeah, wonderful.
make it better.
And I just have to say that through the process that we've been through together, you were a real inspiration to a lot of the other women in their transformations.
Oh, thank you.
So I think that's another piece of it, is choosing to do this together, right? We're not alone.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, the connection with the other women was so important. It's such an important component of the work that we do with you, because it's a challenging journey, and it's one that's so worthwhile, but we need to know that we're safe to go through the world or go through the work, and the upsets that come with that, and the discoveries that some are fantastic and some are like, scary a little bit, and then but being in an environment where we're being held in a safe zone to be able to experience all of that and go on that journey, and that these other women are holding us up and also experiencing the same things, and they're going through the same challenges, and that's okay, and that's a normal part of the process, and that we're all okay, and we're going to be okay because we're doing it together. And then to come out the other side of that and be transformed and really step across that threshold, because it takes courage, but it also is something that is so worthwhile, that we need that connection in order to get us there. So it's, working with other women is such an important component of the work that you do, and I can't imagine doing it any other way.
No, neither can I. I mean, this is the thing that I found in my world, because I was inside of being isolated for a long time, and being really like on my game and focusing and very maybe competitive, and when I really realized that getting evolutionary women up under me, supporting me, and being willing to be vulnerable with each other, and being willing to be seen by someone else in my flaws and my strengths was like a game changer for me. I can't do it alone.
Right.
So this is why I love doing what I do, and I mean, just I get so much out of the work. Yeah. Because we're all doing this together, and I'm in the work with everyone. Right. Pushing myself to my edge. It's we're all there together, and it feels like a family. Right. But a family who's who's pushing each other to be accountable. And, absolutely. Right. Yes. And we're not just hanging around having coffee, although we do that, and wine every once in a while. Right. But we're there for to hold each other to a greater purpose. So.
Right. And the other part that goes along with that, for me, is we don't always see ourselves as others see us. That's so true. So being surrounded by like-minded women who are striving for something that's really impactful is so important, because these women see us in a way that we are unable to see ourselves. So for them to be able to share that with us, to mirror for us, and to look at us, give us the opportunity, give us the feedback, and the opportunity to be able to see ourselves in a truer light because of how they see us, or the things that they notice about us, or the the beautiful things about us that we have to offer that we don't give ourselves credit for, right? So that's another really important component of bringing these women together for the purposes of doing this work.
That's so well said. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
We need reflection, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Honestly, it's astounding to me when one of these women, or even other people in other areas of my life, will say something to me that they notice about me that's really positive, and it's something that I've had a complete blind spot about, right? So we absolutely need others to witness us so that we can understand ourselves better.
Absolutely. So before we go, I wanted, you have 2 shows coming up.
I do.
Yes. Can you tell everybody about that?
I can, yeah, absolutely. So the first one that I have coming up is called Lend Me a Tenor. It's a comedic farce that's going to be really fun. It's put on by Morpheus Theatre. It will be held at the Pump House September 27th to October 5th. And tickets are available through Morpheus Theatre or the Pump House Theatre.
And what's your role?
So I will be playing Maria Morelli. She's an Italian wife of a famous opera singer. So that's going to be a really fun, challenging role for me. I'm super excited about it. This play is going to be so much fun. And then the second one is called The Gala, and that is being put on through a company called Clowns with Issues. And it's great. So that one is called The Gala. It will be performed at Doherty Hall October 30th through November 3rd. So only 4 shows for that one. So you'll have to get your tickets early as soon as they come on sale. So you can find those at Clowns with Issues.
And this is in Calgary, Alberta, if this is being viewed elsewhere.
Right, yes.
And I'm assuming it's a clown related?
It's not a clown show, okay. But it is also a comedic farce. So
we need comedy, man. I need some laughter.
Yeah, they're both great productions. The last few that I've done are a little bit heavier subject matter. So these 2 that are both, they both have a lot of levity and hilarious moments and funny all the way through. So
beautiful.
They're going to be great. I'm really looking forward to them both.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
Wonderful. And if anyone is wanting to find out more about the program that I run at Bold and Visible, you can visit boldandvisible.com. And we do have some upcoming events that are you going to be able, you're coming to the October 27 workshop?
I believe I'm in rehearsal all day long that day for the gala, which is going to be opening very shortly after that.
Beautiful, of course. We are having a panel of our storytellers from the monologues who are going to be there. So do come out if you're interested in just finding out more about experiencing a little bit about what we do. It's at the Sea Space Theatre. It's a beautiful place. Where we held the monologues, and it's on October 27 in 2019. Again in Calgary, Alberta. And thank you so much, Kirsten. It was really fun. Thanks for take 2. We actually we already had an interview today, didn't we?
We did.
But it wasn't recording. So this is not about being perfect.
That's right.
It's about just doing it.
And they were both fun, so.
Yeah, they were great. They were great. Awesome. So thank you, everybody, and we'll see you again soon.
Thank you.
Bye.